and whatever I see is smiling at me. Love is who I am. So hello there, beloved Ascension Pioneers, and welcome to this short video update here with me. I wanted to make a special recording for the first lunation of the year, which is a 22 master degrees Cancer full moon. It starts the year, and this means that the moon is in rulership, so you know the moon is ruled by Cancer, vice versa. And I really had this overwhelming feeling of joy during this moon, this sense of homecoming. And just yesterday I had this beautiful occurrence because my massage therapist came to me this time for a session, and we've actually spent 3 hours talking, and it was deep and intense. And I had this feeling of how much this year I'm also going to work with people personally, not just online, what I do via these videos. And then today, as the moon was turning into its fullness, which is at this exact hour when the moon reaches its culmination phase, it's always important, I always encourage you to watch for that, how it unfolds for you, what messages and signs and omens you're receiving. Luckily, if you're outside in nature, I went a little later after that, but I was at home and I was going through some of my things in these boxes, and there was this beautiful spider there resting in one of them, and I kind of like poked it, and I'm like, oh, sorry, what you doing here, little spider? You're gonna have to go out. This is where you belong, to nature. But the most amazing thing is that this occurred exactly as the moon was getting into its fullness. And you know, spider does represent creativity, weaving a new web of light, of information, of creation. And I really was encouraged to share this message because if you remember last year, I already started initiating and encouraging you that this will be a new creation cycle in the making. And if you felt this as an inner shift already, there's probably a feeling of resonance aligning with that which you've already planted as those seeds. For a lot of us, we planted those seeds a bit of like half a year ago. I think it was around the new moon in Cancer. You know, in terms of creation principles, there's always a new moon lunation, which is further in that same sign, occurring as an opposition in our astrology. So there's a ripeness of what we initiated back then. And remember, back then I started talking about this new weaving of light in a new creation cycle. So today I find this spider there at this exact moment, and I felt this real strong encouragement by Spirit showing us that it's really time for us to receive in this new wave and in this new light. And spider does represent this intense engaging in what is creative and what wants to be created through us. It wasn't actually Cancer, you know, but it does have little tentacles moving out, and Cancer is the sign of that nurturance and divine feminine. But what I feel for many of us, many of you, and yesterday that was a topic during my 3 hours long session, this homecoming, this belonging, that wherever we are in the world, those of you who feel that in a way you are wonder souls, volunteer souls, Ascension Pioneers, angelic souls here on this planet, you felt probably during the most challenging periods of your initiations throughout your development of the soul, that you've had certain challenges that kept you kind of isolated and alone and not really sharing with others, unless it was more based per distance or, you know, via the media of internet and so on and so forth. But what I really feel coming this year, and I've talked about this in my New Year January Ascension update, so tune into that if you haven't already, about these changes and what this numerologically represents. But just before this full moon and its ripeness, we had an 11/11 portal day, and probably you've received some sort of message, initiative, something coming into fruition, or perhaps you felt you're going into one direction but something shifted you. And I had simultaneous workings on my projects, and you know, we are multidimensional beings. We don't work at things as I'm following only this line, and when I finish it I do the next thing, because we're not linear beings. We're multidimensional, and how we receive through the cosmic streams of light, which we're kind of like pulling downwards, is gonna be parallel. It's in parallel, it's simultaneous. So whatever even we talk about as in past experience or past life, it's not really past, because if you're still feeling the energy of it, it's still unfolding as of now. That's why the only truth, even if you perceive it as a past or a future projection, It's actually unfolding in the now, and this quantum reality that we've learned to tap into can now at this stage really take us further into what are we going to do in terms of coming together, closeness, sharing bonds. Ascension Pioneers, as I say, is a group collective coming together, and for many, many years I was in this dedication to service, and you know that when you focus on service you always receive support, and monetary support or people, whatever it is. It's not always what you think it's going to be, but it is what you need, as long as your focus is aligned with that greater service. But what I'm feeling and what I received during this full moon transmission and transition, of course, because it's a strong one, it's in a way not just a new initiative, because you know the moon is full, and yet it also represents a certain ending, where there's endings taking place in our lives, and this is going to be very strongly felt in certain areas. So this moon, I felt, has this strong death, life, rebirth energy to it, but it's also a strong calling to come home to the source of wherever we are. We're feeling so much more joy and happiness, and yesterday, whichever cards I pulled, they were all about bliss and happiness and whatever. And I was asking myself, where is this? What's this coming from? And the only answer I got is, it's from you. It's you reached that state. You're living this now. This joy that is not bound to an external means or services, whatever you want to create. We're not seeking for that externally anymore. So yesterday, even that came out during the session, this topic of, only feeling fulfilled. A lot of you wonder souls who have this knowledge, but a lot of souls on this planet have repressed it, or they haven't fully lived the goddess within themselves yet, because the power of the goddess was so strong. They were afraid to fully unleash it, because they said, oh, it would just kill people off, or I'll end up lonely or alone, because it's so intense and so vile. But we needed to also learn to express that in these light packages. So when we had initiations in our lives, we were kind of poked, release a little bit of it, So when I had this talk during the session last night, a lot of it was the awakening and the understanding of the other person that they did experience change in their lives after they've actually allowed themselves to feel those feelings and allowed the energy to come to the surface. Because in the New Age, and also in a lot of dogmatic spiritual traditions and religion, there's so much talking about, you need to be puritanistic, you need to be pure of everything, but in a wrong sense. Because we did need to embrace those primal emotions and primal tendencies that are also a part of our human psyche, for us to really grow in unconditional love and acceptance of the whole family and the whole genetic pool of the galactic consciousness. So when I talk about the cosmic beloved, that's what I talk about. Becoming this beloved, and every stream of light you're actually pulling, into your awareness, into your physical embodiment. You're not just in knowing of it, because our first level is always based on, I know this, ooh, I feel this, I know it. But then what really makes us live that is the embodiment. You're bringing it forth into your conscious motion, because energy goes into motion. That's what it means to emanate through emotions. It means to empathize. So our magnetic resonance, what I'm feeling, is really changing because of all this inner work we've done and achieved. And it's not something that now, ends abruptly. Everything in creation is always a continuation, right? It's a constant dedication to the service. But for many of you, and I've spoken about this, I think last spring or summer, that the missions are being updated, is during each lunation, especially the one that initiates the year, find out, if you can, it's very simple. Just look at your natal chart, astrology, see where the 22 degrees of Cancer falls, where you have that, which house, which placing, which planets are around it, see what's being initiated, see what's being transitioned in your chart. For me, per se, it's happening in the 8th house, and that's really great, because 8th is that initiation of sacred sexuality through death and rebirth, that new life, but also with resources that come through other people, and the energy that is transformative and transmutive, which is energy in action. As you know, the great goddess energy has an abrupt feeling to it. It's not just that pleasant, which we sometimes perceive this love to be only love and light, and in its supremeness of life. It can, imagine the goddess Kali, right? She's the great representative of that archetype. That great divine womb has the power to initiate, to begin life, or to end it. So when we are sometimes approached by that energy, when we channel it through us, it can be so intense that we think it's negative, and we say, well, that's connected to negative emotions, and I'm not allowed to feel this. And the moment we're not feeling this, And this is what came up during our session last night. We're not happy, we're not fulfilled, and we feel that our only source of well-being and the spring of life comes from when we serve others. So let's say you do a certain job, you know, like my massage therapist is doing when she's serving others through touch and healing and energy healing. And the thing is that yes, it is this great tendency to love that way, but it's not what makes us whole. Because imagine that not being lived out anymore. You still have to feel whole, you still have to feel joy to be a part of this world. And for me, after so many initiations and tryouts and, you know, so much happening and challenges coming up during many years, especially this last 9-year cycle, which was intense for many of us because 2012 happened during this cycle, and the star portals opening and us entering the photonic belt. So what did not happen, right? And the thing is that if we are present and alive during this stage, we've gone through all of this in either way. It just depends on how much we integrate it. Some of us more, some of it less. But it's not about that. It's about allowing this divine goddess and it's in her, I'm gonna say her, right? In her fierce energy to come through uninterrupted, non-controlled, because it is benevolent. In either way how we perceive it, it is benevolent, and it's only us and our human minds that sometimes say no, it's positive or negative, but in truth it is benevolent. There's a great cosmic stellar wisdom that's channeled through us when we stand in that energy. And the reason why so many of us have felt good when we were of service, because that's when you stand in your column, in your vortex, and you're just a pure channel for that energy. Like imagine my massage therapist, when she's doing her work, she's in pure channel. And she confided in me that not always she feels that she's, you know, she's the boss in what she's doing. She wants to be so humble and she does not want to be bound to that ego. Okay, I'm going to do this, I can heal another, I can press this button or whatever. So when she's learned certain things and knowledge, she knows she can not only, you know, lean on that. And the thing is that everything that we learn, we kind of have to instigate through our own energy. Let's say someone in this world developed a certain technique or certain something, or people do Reiki, and now everybody does Reiki, although Reiki is just one of the universal energies to channel through. And we made it into this only healing wave, and that's how we limit it. We limit our resources and the energy that wants to come through us in a unique way. So the great goddess, the true goddess, the death and birth giver of all life, it's such an abrupt energy, and yet it's so benevolent, and we haven't yet fully experienced it until we allow it to move us. And yesterday during the session, what came up is because my massage therapist told me that when she first was initiated into this technique, you know, bound technique, the man who actually developed this, and he's already deceased, but he only discovered you need to press certain points, certain meridians. You don't have to be so pushy and so much working with the physicality of the body. You only have to know a few crucial points for you to do the sacred space, holding the sacred space for that healing to unfold. And the thing is that even that, you know, our knowledge is always expanding. And for us to say, okay, I'm supposed to do this technique and that's all I know, you won't allow it to fully flow through your cosmic consciousness. And the moment you initiate in any kind of work of devotional service, the great goddess, the life force, will work through you in a unique way. So I feel perhaps the message of this full moon is so intensely falling in this note of just allow this abruptness, and in truth it's benevolent, to come through you in its own way. So let's say you're doing a certain technique and you say it's Reiki or this method or rebirthing, whatever. In truth it's coming through you in a unique way that no one else can channel it that way. So even if you give it a name, it's nameless. That's what the great source of divine love it is. So the more we are open to that, and less we define it and make it into something, the more it can be and evolve through us, because our consciousness is constantly evolving and expanding. The more mastery we achieve this way, the less ego we have about this. So when my therapist told me that she actually, the first time she was initiated in this technique, she felt so small because she thought at first, this can't work, it's too minimalistic, what can it do? And then when she first felt the consequences, when someone, the teacher has done it on her, she was like, oh my God, and she felt so small and like this, and she felt humility at such a big level for the first time in her life. And I said yes, because the humility part is so important for us to achieve. And it's that falling on your knees, because we need to achieve that humility to not be engaged in these ego games like, haha, I'm the boss, I can heal this, I can do this to this person. No, you know, even when we have this perception of Joshua doing the healing on others, he just knew how to laser beam that focus you know, kind of making the person become so aware of it that they're responsible for it, so they could see that divine light within them. If they did not allow this, nothing would happen. No one has such magical powers to wave a wand at someone and make them change. You know, that was built upon so we could have these saviors and messiahs and, you know, gurus outside of us, but it's not happening. And I still experience people telling me, oh yeah, you know, Prona, that's just reserved for those few masters like Mary Magdalene, Mary, Jesus, and I'm sick of that, because it's not true. We have to put those beings down from the pedestal, and they don't want to be on the pedestal because they're benevolent as well. And they know that abruptness of the moving energy of life, the life force, the supreme intelligence that can move through us once we allow it. And it cannot be compared to any other way, because the source is moving itself in such a unique way through each expression of that source, which is all of us and all of life forms and all beings and all planetary and stellar formations. So that humility serves us for us to not fall into these ego games of, you know, I can do this, I'm doing this, which is the human mind, because then we're actually not doing it, because we kind of put a lid over the cover that was given to us as a divine gift. So what's really important is the next step of that humility is to open to the new level, which is, I always talk about, our divine royalty. This is our divine heritage, our stellar transfer of energy, which is the greater intelligence of you, and it can move through you, and it's not another master coming through you that's still outside, but you feeling that as an essence within you, moving within you, and that gives you that value, that is the value without you needing validation for that value, if you know what I mean. So you cannot feel fully whole if there's parts of you that are kind of fragmented. You will not. But the thing is, people always say, oh, that's bad because you're so fragmented. You kind of, you know, sometimes people go out of the body, and during their childhood they had these traumas, or during their awakening years, and they say these aspects of me have been pushed away. I've pushed them away because it was too hard, I couldn't survive. The thing is, they're still there, and the moment we pursue them, like, you know, in a linear fashion, we're here and we're pursuing this enlightenment or my wholeness here, and the moment I get here, it's a little elusive and it gets a little further away each time. But what you can do is, each time you have that framework, when you forget about the divinity of who you truly are, imagine this actually being a spiral around you and call it back in. Breathe a little more of that back into your body, into your awareness. And that's how you remember that it's a circle. Spirit is that circle around you. And because it's always there, it always has been, you don't have to chase it and pursue it. That's what gets us away from it anyway. And breathe a little bit of, you know, sometimes I say, just make a few golden spiral circles around you. That really helps. You know, when you have those thoughts like, I'm worthless, I only feel value and worth when I do this or healing work. And a lot of people did that, and it depleted them. And I have a lot of people writing to me, I was such a healer or whatever, but now I'm tired, I'm depleted, I gave so much of myself to others. Is because now we need to learn that balance of service to self and others, but not service to self in a way that is me, all about me, but I need to tend to me first so I can be in a masterful service in a greater way, in a greater capacity, not from a space of fragmentation and healing others because I also feel fragmented and not whole. So bring and call back that wholeness. And this, I feel this full moon has such an opportunity and potential for this wholeness to be brought forward, but we have to work with it, of course. It's not just falling from the sky. I always tell you that. Mastery takes courage and devotion. But I feel so much of us, you know, people have been programmed because we were told if you feel that lack of wholeness, something's wrong with you. But it's not true, because if there's something within you that feels, I don't feel joyful, I don't feel whole this moment, it's actually a message of your soul that there's more that you need to call back in you into your physical embodiment. It's a message. Don't suppress those messages, and don't suppress those emotional triggers, because they are messages of the soul. It's not fragmented, because anything you're feeling, you have to feel to see its value for you, what it's meant to deliver into your life. And the moment we perceive something's wrong with me because I'm feeling this, we're chasing, right? We're chasing this linear fashion of pursuing enlightenment somewhere there outside of us. And the thing is, it's always around us. We're just not always tuning into it. And people say, I can feel it at times, but not at all times. Of course, that's the pursuit. Because when we're truly enlightened in flesh, in our bodies, we will feel it ultimately at all times. Because we've actually reached that state of awareness of that circle of spirit and being the channel for our life force that is abrupt, it's fierce, but it's benevolent, it's pure. And that's where true purity comes from, because you allow it to be as it is. You don't control it in a way that's putting these labels and, signposts to it. So see those messages, because if there's a fragment of you, perhaps you've had an experience in your childhood and something went and you've kind of went out of your body, you've suppressed it, or you kind of repressed it. The thing is, with the message coming in, oh, I can't always feel it, it's a message, how can you bring it into your, just call it back. And the only thing you have to work with is the life force, the holy breath of spirit. And that's not the physical breath, although that of course can assist us. But when I say the holy breath of the Holy Spirit, that's the sacred mana. That's you trusting that this life force, the spiritualized white light coming into you, and just imagining it. It's almost like you're breathing sacred life force into that part of you which you feel it left you. It didn't leave you, but you've kind of say, leave. I can't handle this right now. It's too intense. And a lot of wonder and volunteer souls were doing that because it was so intense for them. They couldn't survive in their environments or people who couldn't understand them, so they pushed these aspects of themselves away. And now I feel with this moon, there's such a strong potentiality for this homecoming once again, for us to embrace this, to embrace life, to embrace life force, and to know that it's pure. Because when we feel pleasure and enjoyment in life, when we feel self-whole and fulfilled, nurtured, supported, communicating with other people, out of the closet, sharing, being out in the world, that's when we have it. And it means that our heart desires are a part of the whole, the heart desire of one cosmic being. So our fulfillment serves the fulfillment of the whole, and it is benevolent and pure, and we have to start trusting that. So whatever kind of desires in your heart, and you say, I can have it because I have to do this and that first, see why this is coming up front this way. And you have to bring those desires into fruition. Otherwise, nothing will fulfill you that way, because sometimes we still have those curiosities, and those curiosities are actually callings for us to have more soul embodiment. And sometimes that comes through you meeting a new person, or traveling somewhere, or having an experience you've never had before. Through that you integrate, because it's time for us to allow ourselves the physical, the human experience, to call these aspects of us back, to no longer suppress the great Goddess, the giver of all life and creation, because it is benevolent, it is a force of purity. It's not the purity that's actually Puritanism, it's not the same thing. We don't know how it is. We have to allow the great divine, the mystical force of life to show us the way. So I asked for a channeled message for spirit for this full moon. I thought it's going to be more, coming next, but I guess this was already integrated in what I've shared already. That's what I feel now, because each time I do a video, I don't know what's going to come out. I have this idea, and then I'm just taken through this direct channel transmission into where Spirit wants me to go, and where it wants us to go as a group collective. I also want to share that if you have a wish right now, it's so important, write those things down. Today I really received during this lunation a powerful message that it's time for me to finally put all of this channeled knowledge and transmission of volunteer souls and the journey of Ascension pioneers into one book. So this year I'm going to work on that. I need more time to dedicate to that. So you see, it's very important for us to be provided on those foundational physical levels so we can do work on higher levels. And a lot of people in the New Age, they want to reach those higher levels before their firm base is established. So they get wishy-washy, and they get drifted away, and they only want to move out of the body, and they get judgmental, and they get opinionated, and they start putting things into boxes, and yes and no, good or bad, black and white. And that's not what we're meant to do. That's not a true mission of a volunteer soul, of a beautiful being that we are, that you are. I'm talking to you. A lot of people, when I do videos, they tell me, I have a feeling you're talking directly to me. Well, of course I am. But it's not on a personal level. It's just Spirit knows how the energy goes. It's abrupt. I don't try to force or, kind of like downgrade my messages in any way. I don't want to make them what they're not. They're spontaneous and they're automatic. So they're authentic in each moment. They're given as I receive. So sugarcoating it doesn't really count. It's not authentic. I just like to be a direct channel for whatever it is, because this is how I benefit the most. And remember, focus on service gets you always aligned with that framework of reality that is the reality of the fifth dimension and beyond. So attune to that. That is the new calling. That is who we are anyway as volunteer souls. If you have a wish, as I've said, tune into it, write it down. What I really received is make the first step, because a lot of times we make it, or it's in the mind, or we just write it down. For example, if you also want to be an author, you want to write something, or whatever you want to do, even if you say, now I'm doing other projects still, I feel this is a very strong time to initiate. That's what I've received. So if there's a book or something that wants to be birthed through you, make the first step. Like if I want to do a book, I'm going to open my Word file and write the title and write the first things also on my computer, so that I put the energy there physically, so that I'm planting the seeds in an actual affirmative way. That's very important. So that's why we spend so many of years to get really grounded in this body, so we could do the work that is taking place in the body. It's not happening up there. We came to do the work here. I always encourage you into that. And a lot of you are still whining and I have people writing, I can't do that, my life is shitty, my life is crap. You know what? Watch my videos, watch someone else's videos, and then do the work instead of whining. There's so much energy of creativity there, and it's always there. Imagine it's always there in the circle. Don't try to be that one who pursues in a linear fashion, because it's not the nature of spirit. It's not how we're built. It's not how we work with energy at all. Remember back the true origin of who we are. So I have this vision of this book that would call these volunteer souls back to the origin through the galactic grand design. This is my next vision. If you have a dream, let's imagine right now, in this beautiful time of the full moon, we're putting in this one bowl of light, in a chalice of the sacred golden white light. So let's take a breath together. Physically, but imagine that the sacred breath of life is given to you. It comes through you through the sacred white fire, which is the fire of the unity light of source. Imagine that everything that comes through you, through us right now, is coming from that benevolent, pure life force, whatever it is. Don't try to define it and say how it is. Just let it be and come through you as it is. Period. It's that simple. You don't have to make it complex anymore. This year, for those of you who want it, it's gonna be a year of simplicity. Things will start coming and kind of coming together like pieces of the puzzle, right? The right people, the right places, the right events. Let it happen. Let it come to you. We let things come to us in that way. So imagine we're putting that in that unified container of light. Let's all, as a unity collective, support each other in that. My mission is also to encourage you into either way. We're scattered all around the world. That matters not, because we're part of this unity grid. And the 144 frequency of the oversoul of our greater grand design complex. And those of you coming directly from source, having that purity, you're always going to be directed where you go, how to go, what to do. You will know. Also, read my latest Ascension blogs. They're on my Diary of an Ascension Pioneers page. There's everything channeled there. Each time of the lunations, I do these channelings. They're direct transmissions, because whenever I write, it's like, I can do one. It's like just like a few minutes. It's freaky, I know, but it's how I am, and that works for me best, because the mind does not get involved. It's just direct transmission of this higher essence of who we are as one cosmic being. Support and love one another. Let's support and love each other. I also have this short announcement this weekend. I'm actually having a short travel. It's just for a few days. I'm visiting someone, a friend in Slovakia. So I'm going to actually be in Bratislava. It's my first time traveling this way alone. It's like, I got to start somewhere. You see, this full moon, this first initiative this year for me, I have to start coming out, and I said I have to start coming out this way as well. I have to get out of my comfort zone and start coming out this way. So if you're there, if you're close, give me a shout out, let me know. And I really hope this year kind of brings us to this fulfillment of everything we've wanted, but for the greater purpose of what we're seeding on this planet, and to make everything in this reality more joyful and abundant and rich with the splendor of the sacredness that always is. And just yesterday, my massage therapist, she said to me, well, I always had this feeling the sacredness is gone in this world. And a lot of us felt this, especially when we've seen how the earth is treated, but this was ongoing for many eons of time. And the thing is, it's not gone. When you perceive it on the outside, you might have this feeling, but in truth, it's not. It lives within you. You are these flames. We are these sacred flames. So don't come to this reality with this limited perception that it's all gone, because it's not. And sometimes things that appear to be on the outside is just a tiny fraction of reality we're seeing with our physical eyes. In truth, much more is happening. And find that eye of clarity, find that inner vision that tells you that this is so, that this is a direct message right now, that things are not always as they appear to be, and you have to have the eyes and the hearts to see. Let's hold our hands together. Let's imagine we're doing it. First lunation of the year. Let it be abundant, successful, joyful for you. This was a special video. I am freezing my ass off again. And if you have any compassion for my really, I love to do them in nature because I work with many more beings and life force of the planet when I do them like this. Only extreme conditions, or if I have mini courses, I do them inside my videos because I am an elven being. Duh. So if you have any compassion and you want to share your love, send me your feedback or whatever support. And when I say feedback, sometimes people misunderstand that. When I say feedback, it's just, you know, a note of gratitude, you know, for what I do and how it affects you. Don't send me your whole life story and what's happening in your life and like these, you know, pages and pages, because I'm sorry, I really don't have time to read this. I have to focus on my work, what's my mission, what I have to bring forward to this planet. So don't confuse feedback with life stories, okay? Unless you're really guided and called to have a personal consultation with me. These are beloved sessions I do, and I'm doing them back again. I'll be back next week. Until then, I'm gonna have this beautiful short adventure, see what it leads me, what's happening next. I wish you a beautiful full moon. If you're guided and want to support, send me a donation or support on Patreon. I love you so very much. So much love is in the power. And as always, take care. Bye-bye.